She stole a masterpiece to become famous, but the real artist didn't want revenge. She wanted an answer to a question the thief couldn't understand. Alara was a painter, but the world didn't seem to notice. Her canvases, filled with her soul, gathered dust in her tiny, damp apartment. Landlords' notices piled up like unwanted still life subjects, and her diet consisted mostly of instant noodles and despair. She had talent, she knew it, but talent didn't pay the rent. She was just another starving artist in a city that had already consumed thousands like her, a ghost haunting the fringes of the art world she so desperately wanted to join. Her own art was honest, raw, and deeply personal, but it was also quiet. It didn't scream for attention. It whispered, and in the noisy gallery scene, whispers were easily ignored. Every rejection letter felt like a fresh cut, another scar on her already fragile confidence. She was on the verge of giving up, of packing her brushes away forever and succumbing to a life painted in shades of gray. One rainy Tuesday, while scouring a dusty corner of a forgotten antique shop for a cheap frame, she saw it. Tucked away behind a stack of old magazines, almost hidden from view, was a painting. It wasn't large, but it was magnetic. The canvas depicted a lone lighthouse, battered by a swirling, violent sea, yet its beam cut through the storm with an unwavering, defiant light. The colors were unlike anything she had ever seen. The storm was a symphony of deep indigos and furious grays, but the light was a warm, living gold. It felt real, more than real. It felt like hope and despair clashing on a single canvas. There was no signature, no name, just this powerful, anonymous image. Alara stood frozen, the rain-soaked city outside fading away. The painting spoke to her, telling a story of resilience that she longed to feel herself. She bought it for a pittance, the shop owner barely glancing at the masterpiece he was letting go. Back in her apartment, the painting transformed the space. It made her own work seem childish and clumsy in comparison. She'd stare at it for hours, tracing the brushstrokes with her eyes, trying to understand the genius behind them. And that's when the idea of venomous little seed began to sprout in the barren soil of her desperation. It started as a whisper, a dark thought she tried to push away. What if this was her chance? The painting was unsigned, forgotten. Who would ever know? The lie was a monster, but the prospect of failure was a greater one. The temptation was overwhelming, a siren song promising everything she ever wanted. With trembling hands, she took a tiny brush, dipped it in a color that matched the artist's palette, and carefully painted her own name in the bottom corner, Alara. The moment the brush lifted, a part of her soul shriveled and died, but another, more ambitious part, was born. She submitted the Beacon, as she called it, to a prestigious local competition, the same one that had rejected her for 3 years straight. This time, she didn't get a rejection letter. She got a phone call, then another, and another. The painting wasn't just accepted, it won. It was hailed as a revelation. Critics fell over themselves, praising its mature, fearless technique and profound emotional depth. Alara, the unknown artist, was suddenly the talk of the town. Her lie had worked. It had worked spectacularly. The whirlwind of fame was intoxicating and terrifying. Suddenly, she was on magazine covers, giving interviews, and attending lavish parties where people who once ignored her now hung on her every word. They called her a prodigy, a visionary. She sold the Beacon for a sum that could buy her apartment building 10 times over. She was a star. But every night, after the cameras stopped flashing and the champagne flutes were empty, she would be alone with her fraud. The fame felt hollow, the praise like acid. She would try to paint, to create something of her own, but her hands felt alien, her inspiration gone. The ghost of the true artist haunted her. Who were they? Why did they create such a masterpiece only to abandon it? The guilt was a constant, gnawing presence, a shadow that followed her even in the brightest spotlight. She lived in a beautiful new studio filled with the finest materials, but she was more of a prisoner than she had ever been in her tiny, damp apartment. Every compliment was a reminder of her theft, every award a monument to her deceit. She was living someone else's dream, and the weight of it was crushing her. 1 year to the day after she won the competition, a letter arrived. It wasn't fan mail or an invitation. It was handwritten on simple, elegant stationery. The message was short. "I need to speak with you about the Beacon. I am the artist. Please meet me at this address." There was no anger in the words, no threat, just a simple, direct request. Alara's blood ran cold. This was it, the moment she had been dreading. The end of her career, her reputation, her entire fabricated life. She considered running, disappearing with her fortune, but she knew she couldn't. The ghost had finally taken form, and she had to face it. The address led her to a quiet, sunlit room in a hospice care facility. An elderly woman sat in a wheelchair by the window, her body frail but her eyes sharp and clear. She was surrounded by sketches, all in the same unmistakable style as The Beacon. This was her, the real artist. The woman introduced herself as Lena. She wasn't angry. She wasn't there to expose Alara or reclaim her fame. In fact, she seemed completely uninterested in the celebrity or the money. Alara, choked with guilt, began to stammer an apology, the words catching in her throat. But Lena simply held up a weak hand to stop her. "I don't care that you took it," Lena said, her voice soft but steady. "Fame was never what I wanted. I left that painting in the shop on purpose. I've left many. I wanted them to find homes where they were needed." Alara stared, confused. This wasn't the confrontation she had prepared for. "I watched you," Lena continued, her gaze intense. "I saw you win. I saw the interviews. But there's one thing I have to know. Of all my paintings, why did you choose that one? That specific lighthouse?" Alara was speechless. She had chosen it because it was beautiful, because it was powerful. She had no deeper reason. She opened her mouth to say so, but no words came out. Lena's expression was not one of accusation, but of genuine, piercing curiosity. It was a question Alara had never asked herself. Why that one? What did it mean to her, really? Lena saw the confusion on Alara's face. A small, sad smile touched her lips. She gestured for Alara to come closer to a print of the painting she had on a nearby table. With a trembling finger, she pointed to a minuscule detail Alara had never noticed, a tiny, almost invisible shape hidden in the foam of a crashing wave at the base of the lighthouse. It was a single, fallen feather. Lena looked up from the painting, her eyes locking onto Alara's, holding all the weight of her life, her art, and her impending death. "What?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Does this mean to you?" Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share this video with a friend, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We'll see you in the next one.